Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatoria. So I'm doing a review of a new HEMA fencing jacket. Unusually I'm starting in all the gear simply because it's easier to start like that and actually take it off as I start to show you what it is. So this is, first of all I should mention there is background noise. I'm at Fight Camp 2016, so I'm filming the review actually at Fight Camp in the middle of the field at the moment. It's the end of the day on Saturday. It's been a fantastic day, but I thought it would be a good time to film a review. So what is this? This is the black Armoury HEMA jacket, and I've got to say straight off the bat, I love it. Okay, it's great. This is the best HEMA jacket that I have tried on in a long time. We have a lot of different HEMA jackets in Scholar Gladiatoria, and of course I see them at events and tournaments and such like. Most famously the Spez Axel Petersen jacket. That's probably the most widespread jacket, but also the Neyman jacket, and indeed the Leon Paul HEMA jackets as well, which has the external inserts. We have a couple of those in my club. But this is my favourite jacket of the moment. So why is it my favourite jacket of the moment? Well, you've probably already noticed the thing around my neck. Now that acts essentially as a kind of bever or gorget on the outside of the mask, and this is the really revolutionary thing about this jacket, is that it's on the outside of the bib of the mask. That means there's no possible way to come underneath my fencing mask with a sword or any other weapon. It also keeps my mask quite securely on my head. It means that my mask can't really be pulled off my head additionally. Now you might think, doesn't that constrict my movement? Well, surprisingly no. The way it's been made, I can look up and down absolutely fine. I can look side to side. If I'm fencing sabre, I can turn my head sideways on and fence sabre perfectly fine. Really good, or rapier or anything else. So it's good for longsword where you're turning the head left and right the whole time as you pass footwork, or side sword. But it's equally good for single-handed weapons where you're keeping one side forward all the time. This is a huge leap forward in terms of safety. It also means, in my opinion, you can do away with wearing a separate gorget. Now, many of us who compete in HEMA and just practice HEMA regularly hate gorgets. Gorgets are horrible objects, okay? They constrict your movement, they can make you feel like you're being strangled, they're sweaty and nasty. If you can get rid of the gorget, that is fantastic. Here I've got an outer layer with essentially a blade catcher under there, so things would get slide up and get stuck under there, but you could put a hard plate under there if you wanted to for additional protection. And then underneath is my actual fencing mask bib. So I've got essentially 3 layers of protection there, and you could add more without having to wear a gorget. Now I'll take this off so you can see how it attaches. So it comes down here, and then the mask comes off. There's my actual head. Okay, so how does it go on? Quite simply, you put your mask on as normal. You pull it down over the chin, you make sure that the outside of the collar, and notice that the collar is quite high at the back as well. That's fantastic for protecting your neck and the back of your head, or helping to do so. You make sure that these side bits are outside of your bib, so your bib of the mask is going down inside. Then you fold up the front bit so it's enclosed, and then Velcro at the sides. Brilliant, okay? Some of you may think, oh, it's not the most beautiful solution in the world, it doesn't look as nice as some other jackets. You might think that, but it works fantastically, and for me that's the most important thing. Now, I've talked a lot about the neck protection because that's the most notable and different thing about this jacket. But this jacket doesn't stop there. It has other advantages over other jackets that I've tried and seen in my club. First one is it has fantastic articulation of the arms. Okay, it feels like the arms almost aren't attached to the body. It doesn't ride up at all, and the arms are completely free moving. That's the first thing. The next thing is that it breathes really well. The fabric that it's made of seems to breathe better, in my opinion, than the Spez Axel Petersen jacket. I don't know the material it's made of. It seems to be cottony. Perhaps it's got some linen in there, I'm not sure. But it breathes better. I have fought in this numerous times now, and I don't get as hot in this jacket as I'm used to getting in my Spez jacket. And incidentally, I have been using a Spez jacket for many years now, and it is a very good jacket. But this does breathe better. This also has better articulation, as I mentioned, than the Spez. In terms of how it zips, it's very similar to the Spez. Now, one thing that I would change personally, because I mostly focus on Sabre, as any of my regular viewers would know by now, the zip is on this side, and that's not very good for people who are doing things like Sabre and Rapier, because we've predominantly got our right hand forward. So you don't really want the zip and opening on the side that is most likely to get struck. We'd rather have it on this side. So I do think there should be an option for this jacket as well to have a zip on this side so it can close the other way around. For me personally, I'd rather have it closing on the left hand side rather than the right hand side. If we just open it up for a second, so it's got a good zip, and then it's got a double layered, essentially two-layered, double-breasted front on the jacket. It velcros at the bottom, which I understand is just off camera, so you can't quite see. And inside it's fairly standard, pretty much like any Gamson. White padded material inside, and seems to be a sort of linen-y type surface to it. Now, there are a few things that I would change apart from the zip. Personally, I find the body, which is modelled on late 14th century style arming doublets and gambesons, I find the body a little bit too long. I understand from a protection point of view that's a good thing, because obviously it protects a bit more of you, but I do find if you're in low stances with your legs quite bent, with your knees quite bent, doing Sabre or even things like Jochen Meyer longsword, then the problem is this bit which comes down in the middle comes down very low, and it tends to push and bunch the jacket up, and I don't like that. I would personally prefer the jacket to finish at the same height that the Spez Axel Petersen jacket finishes at, because I find that really, really good for what I personally do, i.e. Sabre most of the time. Other things I would mention about this is the level of padding. Now, one thing I noticed in sparring with friends of mine, and obviously I usually use the Spez, and most people in my club use the Spez AP jacket, is that this actually has more padding on the forearms than the Spez jacket does. Now, if you're used to wearing additional external pads on the forearms and elbows, then in actual fact you might want less padding on the arms so that you can fit those additional guards, arm guards or pads over the top of. I understand that. For me personally, I'd actually quite like that additional protection to be integral. Now this is really, really good because this has actually got better forearm protection than the Spez Axel Petersen jacket has. I've been hit by a really hard hit on my forearm and I got a slight bruise. My opponent, who was wearing the Spez jacket, I hit what I deemed to be an equal force blow on their forearm and they got a really big bruise. Now I've been hit many times on my arms in my Spez jacket, and I consider that this has better forearm protection than the Spez does. However, I don't require so much padding on the rest of my body. Again, this will vary between different clubs and different weapons and different people. Some people will want that high level of padding that's currently on the chest and sides on this jacket. Personally, I could do with less. If I were making this jacket for what I do, ideally, I would have even stiffer or even more padding on the forearms and particularly the elbow, and then I would have less padding on the body, because frankly body shots tend not to be very painful, and just a couple of layers that we've got here, if that was reduced down in thickness, sorry there's an aeroplane going over, if that was reduced down in thickness, I think it would still do a perfectly adequate job, and if I required additional padding I could put a plastron or a chest protector on underneath, and the jacket would be cooler. Now this jacket is already cooler than the Spez in my opinion, and related to that I should mention this jacket is lighter than the Spez. If you pick up, I haven't weighed them on a scale, but I was talking with Keith Farrell of Corsairs Wares, and he trades in these things, he sells them, and we both agree that if you just pick up this jacket, that is the Black Armoury jacket, and you pick up the Spez jacket, the Black Armoury jacket actually feels lighter, and I'm fairly sure is lighter, which is undoubtedly one of the reasons why it seems to breathe more easily and is less hot. So to wrap things up, essentially the Black Armoury HEMA fencing jacket is fantastic. There are things that I would change about it for what I personally do, which is mostly military Sabre. However, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best jacket that I have fought in and tried on and witnessed in my club for, well, forever so far. That's not to say it's perfect. As I say, there are things we want. Newton rating, very important. We want to know about these important armpits. We want to know can we do away with plastrons? Do we still need plastrons? This kind of stuff, because there are vulnerable areas where a broken blade could penetrate, and we want to know what kind of Newton rating protection this jacket offers. Spares and certain other companies are now offering Newton rated jackets, so that does put them in a slightly different category for now. However, I do understand from Anthony, who at the company of Black Armoury that make these, that they are looking into Newton rating these jackets and perhaps using different fabrics. But at the moment I am super impressed with this jacket, and of course that trademark collar has to be a major selling point for lots and lots of people. It makes the wearing of a mask so much safer. But even if we ignore this selling point, which really is a great selling point by itself, even if we ignore this, the jacket itself is also a really good jacket that I consider nicer, more pleasant to wear, and in some ways more protective, seems to be, than the Spez jacket. Cheers folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.